Welcome to the Jeff Crilly Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilly.
Good morning, DFW. This is a beautiful summer day. Very, very warm this morning, but great day to go out and enjoy the hot Texas summers. My first guest on the Jeff Crilly Show today is a man who really touches my heart in a way that it's hard for me to describe. His name is Charles Hodges, and he has a idea that will revolutionize the way people with Alzheimer's are cared for. Welcome to the Jeff Crilly Show, Charles.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning.
Well, tell us this story from the beginning. This started with your father.
It did, and like most stories like this, it started with a phone call. My father called me at a time late at night. He was very proud that our ranch manager had sold his cattle, and it was a very simple conversation. The problem was that event had happened 18 months prior. And so as I tried to reorient him and explain, at that point, I was certainly in denial that there was anything really wrong. But as it turned out, that was really his first TIA, the transient ischemic attacks that are the precursors to full onset of dementia or Alzheimer's. So that really began our journey for our family. And that culminated in really 2 years of moving from facility to facility and really understanding that in general, we were not prepared for the onset of Alzheimer's as a family, nor societally, we really weren't prepared because the facilities just weren't trained in dealing with dementia at that point.
And you were taking your father to high-end homes in North Dallas.
Some of the nicest in North Dallas, only to find out that really they were not prepared and the training was not sophisticated and they really didn't know how to deal with dementia and some of the things that come along with dementia, which are the agitation issues, the personality changes, really the changes in vocalization, and sort of an inward isolation that begins to set in. And, of course, with a dementia patient, there are really three enemies. Isolation and loneliness are only one of those, and helplessness and boredom are the other two. And that really tends to track towards an internal isolation.
Now, we should let the audience in on this. Charles Hodges is the founder of Hodges and Associates Architecture. They are really the creme de la creme in terms of design. They're most famous, I would say, for the Alamo Draft House and other staples that you see. But when you lost your father, you made a promise.
I did. I really told myself I was going to change the business of caring for dementia and Alzheimer's patients. And it's taken us a long time and a lot of research to really reach the point where we were ready to begin design and construction of what we felt like was a facility not for the last 20 years, but for the next 25 years and beyond. And we started a 3-year research program which involved really mining every piece of information from around the world to find out what were the latest studies being done on experimental techniques and therapies. And then we have gleaned those that we really feel like will be most beneficial and can translate into architecture and to therapy regimens. And we've combined all that into the new facility, which is to be called Tribute Senior Living.
And it's located in Prosper. You just had your groundbreaking.
We did. We had our groundbreaking on my father's 103rd birthday. So
wow.
He would have been very proud of that.
Wow. Okay, so tell us some of the features that make this facility one of a kind.
Well, I think that, I was reading a study last week that came out of Oxford where they were disappointed in a clinical trial where they were not able to reduce the wandering that occurs in dementia. And I really felt surprised that even at this day and time, they still were trying to defeat wandering when wandering is truly soothing. It's wandering to a dementia patient, gives them physical exercise and certainly helps the vascular system. And within our team, we really believe that a lot of cases that are diagnosed as just pure Alzheimer's may in fact be a byproduct of vascular dementia, which is a compromise of the vascular system due to lack of exercise. So it seemed odd to me that you would design a facility to try to keep your residents from really wanting to wander, why not embrace the wandering and use that as an opportunity for not only exercise, but also socialization along the way? So we've incorporated with our facility at Tribute is designed in pods that where 25 guests live with a common area to the central point. But within that pod, there are multiple social areas and multiple opportunities for engagement. And it's not like a clinical setting. It's more like the setting of a great health club. And I tell people, when you come to Tribute, you're not going to see your grandmother's parlor with a lot of floral print overstuffed chairs.
Charles Hodges is my guest. He's with Tribute Senior Living. Let's talk about some other features, because one of the things that I was really impressed with is this idea of sundowners. Explain that to me.
Sundown syndrome is a byproduct of the disease, whereby when things start to get dark and the natural color of the light changes from a blue range to a warmer orange-red hue, that in many cases sets off sundown syndrome, which is really a higher level of agitation, frustration. There can be some real acting out that occurs as a part of the sundown syndrome. So at Tribute, we've taken a little different approach on lighting, and we actually have incorporated a lighting system whereby we can dial down or up the temperature of the light and bring about an offsetting effect to sundown syndrome by affecting the circadian rhythm.
Wow. So reducing the agitation.
Agitation, of course, is one of the major pitfalls of what occurs in the progression of dementia. And there are some very simple techniques that even some of my past clients have been reluctant to incorporate, such as whisper quiet systems for air conditioning. You'll find that probably 50% of the facilities out there, in my opinion, are obsolete because they use those through-the-wall motel-like air conditioning units. Well, mechanical noise is one of the major generators of agitation in a dementia patient. Wow. So to me, there would be no choice other than to incorporate the most whisper-quiet facilities and units that you could use and move those remotely from the tenant's room or from a guest room to a remote place where that mechanical noise does not aid the agitation issues.
So when Charles came into my office for the first time a few months ago and was sharing his story with my team, we were all in tears just because it was so clear that this is a labor of love. And you made the comment to me, I don't know if I'm going to make any money on this project, Jeff. I just need to do this.
That's right. It's so needed. And quite frankly, the tidal wave that's coming, we need to be prepared for that. And we need to be prepared in a different way, because this new generation where 5% of the cases that are being diagnosed today are between the ages of 40 and 50. That's a staggering statistic, in my opinion, because at 64, I could have been one of the people that suffered from this 24 years ago. And so if we don't change the therapies and tailor those therapies to the new generation, then the facilities will not be their highest level of architecture as therapy. We've incorporated one of our great partners, our chief science officer is Dr. Paula Gramis. She is the executive director of the Ryan Institute for Neuroscience at the University of Rhode Island. We believe Paula is one of the top people in the world when it comes to really understanding the mechanisms of dementia and really thinking differently about how to approach therapy for dementia. She believes very strongly that vascular dementia, because of our sedentary lifestyles, poor diet based on fast food, a lot of that affects the heart obviously affects the brain, and what's good for the heart is good for the brain. So Paula has really led us to really go in a direction of taking our residents and encouraging those residents to have a different nutritional intervention when they come to Tribute. We believe that by offering different nutritional opportunities, whether it be vegetarian, Mediterranean, all natural, and then tracking those residents for their progression and seeing if we can slow that down. We believe that's one of the interventions that we really want to focus on. The second is obviously sedentary lifestyles and encouraging our guests to really be part of a very comprehensive fitness program, and one that encourages activity not just once a day, but small activities throughout the day.
Tell everybody about the music.
Well, from the research that we have seen, your most formative years and memorable years musically are the years 19 through 25 years of age. So within our facility, we really have focused on that, and we'll build a file, if you will, so that if that resident wants to be soothed musically, he can touch a button, and we will have a playlist that occurs from his 19th through 25th year. And for me, it would be Steppenwolf, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Some of these
Elton
people could really be
John.
rocking out depending on what they were listening to.
Obviously. But I think music plays a great role in both soothing the agitation, but also stimulating memories. And I think reorientation and bringing those residents out of that isolation and into the realm of remembering something that happened triggered by that music, I think that's one of the therapies we would really like to emphasize at Tribute.
Another, very careful attention to detail is giving something to the kids to do so that they don't want to leave.
When I visited my father, I watched the families, and it was so difficult because you could not get quality time with your relative or your spouse because the kids or the grandkids they didn't want to be there. They didn't like the facility. They didn't like the circumstances. So we've actually incorporated play facilities, and we will have activities for the families so that the kids can actually find an activity and give that spouse or that son or daughter some extra quality time as therapy with their parent or loved one.
Even the meal times can be important.
You know, we had a very bad experience with a very exclusive facility in North Dallas trying to force the residents to eat within a 1-hour window so they could lower labor costs. Well, at Tribute, we may have folks that are used to getting up at 5:30 in the morning and they want to have breakfast at 5:45. So we've made provisions such that if somebody wants an egg cooked within their pod for breakfast, that we have the ability to do that in each pod and make it more like a home setting, not trying to force someone to eat when they're not hungry or making them wait 2 hours when they're used to getting up at 5:30, having breakfast, and getting after their day.
So what struck me as I heard all of these details is nobody has ever put them all together. And so we don't really know whether or not we could have a breakthrough. Like, I'm not saying reverse the hands of time, but maybe stop or slow?
Well, as we know, there's no real cure at this point for Alzheimer's. I certainly hope we come up with one. I hope our facilities are not needed. But I think that there have been many studies that are multimodal intervention studies in other countries in the world where they have chosen to assess the ability to slow down the progression of the disease through one of these interventions. There's actually a study out of Finland that they were able to do multimodal interventions on a certain group of residents, and they saw a definite slowing of progression of the disease on several of the modes of intervention. So brain health and brain training, certainly nutritional improvements, certainly physical fitness and activity improvements, anything that aids that vascular delivery of oxygenated blood to the brain. Why in the world wouldn't every facility specialize in that?
Absolutely. When Charles came to us, I felt this extra pressure that I just wanted to do justice to him and his father. As some of you know, we have a public relations firm, and he trusted us with his story. And he's going to be on Channel 4 this coming Sunday, tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Dan Godwin interviewed him. He was on Channel 8. But I'm going to make a promise to you right here on the air, and you can play this tape back for me and hold me to this. I hear the tick, tick, tick of 60 minutes when I hear your story. And my prediction is in 2 years, after it's been up and running for a while and you're starting to have some of these breakthroughs, that we will get a Leslie Stahl down here to do a feature on 60 Minutes about something that had never been done, and a father's, a son's gift to his dad.
Well, let's hope that by being experimental with these therapies and techniques, and by trying to assemble a regimen that really does slow the progression of the disease, probably our best reward would be that the level of care would improve.
Charles, how do people get a hold of you? How do they? Is there a waiting list, or how does that work?
Actually, it's remarkable. We have people wanting to reserve places in Tribute already, and we're still 10 months away from construction completion. So
wow.
Our website is www.tributeseniorliving.com, and we're happy to answer any questions. If you need to speak to me personally, we'll be happy to answer those questions at Hodges Architecture.
Thank you so much for being on the Jeff Crilly Show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
When we come back, are selfies fueling a boom in cosmetic procedures? A doctor is in studio to tell us how to look forever young without costly invasive surgery. That's next on the Jeff Crilly Show.
More of the Jeff Crilly Show coming up.